How do we start?
That's on you, I think. How are you gonna
Yeah,
start
that could be the intro. Hello,
it?
this is a little podcast thingamajig we're gonna do. I'm Daniel.
I'm David, Dan's
Just say
friend.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna look at the camera
Well,
the
I
whole
don't know.
time.
I don't
I don't
know.
like
I
looking
don't
at
know
the
whether
camera.
looking in
Don't
there
just we just
for the
talk.
intro. You could look maybe.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna just try this, see what the fuck happens. We have nothing written down or anything. We're just gonna start chatting and see what comes out of it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So how we're gonna
Sweet.
start.
I don't know. What's your
Well,
What's
basically,
your
the whole idea was I want to say the difference between from AM to Tranquility Base, how when they released AM, they kind of really broke out in America, and it was a brand new sound for them or whatever, and then it was well received, and then they brought out Tranquility Base, and then it wasn't as well received as AM. Kind of
yeah
wanted to
yeah
talk about why that happened or whatever.
yeah? Well, I think I don't know if it's maybe because I was it was the most conscious I was when AM or Arctic Monkeys released an album
Yeah.
that I noticed how obviously it's dramatically different from AM, but it was the biggest. It was the first time that I stopped and took account for what's different and why. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
kind of analyze it a bit more. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel maybe if you take the difference between Suck It and See to AM or Suck It and See to Humbug or whatever, they're just kind of stylistic differences. Do you know what I mean? But then AM comes out, and that's almost I bring this up every time we talk about it, but the whole persona he has there,
Yeah.
and so there's this new thing that he's doing now, Alex Turner. If you don't know, he kind of has his persona, and along with that this stage presence. It's I don't know if it's clear whether he's written in that persona. Do you know what I mean, or if this is something he took on live, the way he started wearing all the leather and stuff, and
Yeah.
taking on this real rock and roll kind of thing. But then you get to Tranquility Base, and again he's a character, so there's that kind of nearly similarity, but then the rest is so different that you kind of see this difference more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's just I don't know how nearly self reflective it is of AM as well as really draws attention to the difference. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And yeah, they've never done a fucking concept album either,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
ridiculous. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Which is pretty
And
crazy.
it's even the difference between favorite worst nightmare into Humbug.
Yeah,
It's it is a big change, but it's still guitars, bass, the four of them. I know they added a bit of keyboard or whatever, but it's more obvious transition
yeah,
rather
yeah,
than AM to which is a big rock album with hip hop elements in it.
yeah.
Going from that to a completely piano based
Exactly. Yeah,
album. Well,
yeah,
I know you written most of it on piano, but going from writing a lot with the bass and the drums to completely neglecting the drums in this album, it's so the change is huge.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy because then when Humble come out, I think we were only getting into them maybe around Suck It and See, so we're going all the way back
Yeah.
and then
Well,
kind
the
of catching
first
up.
one
Do you
I
know what I
listened
mean?
to was Humbug. You gave me Humbug.
Yeah,
'Cause I
yeah,
was
yeah.
into Queens of Stone Age then.
But was
And
that in between? I don't even remember when that was, but that was in between Suck It and See
I
and
think Suck
Humbug
It
or
See was
whatever.
out. Yeah, yeah.
But I remember hearing maybe stuff from whatever people say that's what at the time, but then not really copping it because I don't forget how old I was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then going all the way back in school,
Yeah.
and then coming up to Humbug, and then Suck It and See comes out. Do you know what I mean? But they're all these they're just still rock albums. Do you know what I mean? And they never really change the genre at all.
Yeah.
And then AM's really different because that has all these hip hop elements and this really crisp and really smooth and clean production. But then Tranquility Base is just a different beast altogether.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And you can also kind of track the differences on what they were doing at the time. For Humbug, they went and hung out with Josh Homme.
In the fucking desert.
Yeah,
Joshua Tree.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we always say that whenever Josh Holmes on an album, it becomes a Queens of Stone Age album or a Josh
Because
Homme
he's so
album.
influential.
He's Then Crooked Vultures or any of the
he's
desert
with,
sessions.
with Iggy Pop as well.
Exactly,
it's
his touch is so noted. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
you're that kind of contextualizes that change. Do you know what I mean? But then I just feel I hadn't heard of them in forever. And then Tranquility came out. Do you know what I mean? And you're just this is so bizarre.
And that's what
do
I
you
want
know?
to talk about that as well, because from AM to Tranquility Base was 2013 to 2018. So that's 5 years.
Yeah.
But everyone's saying it's only one album. So
Yeah.
it's, like the difference is one album, but it's 5 years, and in that time, Alex done the last Shadow Puppets album, and he toured that, which is
Yeah.
like completely different to what AM was originally.
Yeah.
And then he done the Alexander Savior album, so like he like it didn't just go from AM to Tranquility Base. It went from AM, Last Shadow Puppets, Alexander Savior, then Tranquility Base. There's more of a
Yeah.
it's not like a spike, it's like a steady like curve kind of thing. But
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh my god, why does it sound like AM? It's like it's that reason, and he like didn't want to do AM like 2.0.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like he could have easily money grabbed AM 2.0. I'd say he's got like hundreds of songs.
It
in the
arguably
vault,
would have
like,
done better. Do you know what I mean? Because there's
No,
already that built-in fan base.
like it would have.
Do you know
and
what
like
I mean?
everyone's saying, oh, would have done so much better. Why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
Because like he didn't fucking want to do it. Like,
No.
you know what I mean?
And
like,
for the better, like.
yeah.
Even if like I think it's funny like when you see people we went to school with really liked the whatever people say and that's what I'm not and favorite worst nightmare
Yeah.
and then don't really have an opinion of Humbug
and then back into AM.
and then it's back on AM
and then back off.
and then back on and they're just like
Yeah.
but like I think those weirder albums of theirs like those three Humbug, Suck It and See and Tranquility are maybe my favorite ones. Humbug and Tranquility I think are probably my favorites when they do something kind of weird. Do you know what I mean? But it's just funny to see that like trajectory or like do you know what I mean like what's that like bar graph look like or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Or it's like
people
like
that are into it or
like
not, you
people
know.
from school when younger slagging the kids for liking like Dungeons and Dragons and all that, and then loving Game of Thrones when it came out.
Slagging you for liking Lord of the Rings. And then like, oh,
I watched Game of Thrones.
Where can I get a link for the new Game of Thrones episode?
Like fuck off. About that.
I think we said I remember like a mutual friend was like really slating on Tranquility Base at the time, and we were like, he has no right to put in the hours of listening and discussing all the music, you know. Because when we were playing in a band together, we'd like talk about Earth Monkeys on the way to practice, and then
We'd be
practice,
playing them,
and then we do covers, and then we talk about them on the way home. So we nearly have a PhD in Earth Monkeys, do you know what I mean? At least like a master's.
Big time.
And then people are hating on this album. It's like you don't have your homework done. Do you know what I mean? To criticize it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just mad. Like, but I think though the I don't know we could just get into what you love about Tranquility Base, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Me?
Oh, yeah. Like, what's your I don't know. What keeps you coming back?
I just love the vibe of it. Like every time, like when I listen to it, I just kind of get like I can never listen to the songs individually. Like I feel like it's one of them albums where you need to listen to the whole thing, like to be encapsulated in it. Like you can't just read one chapter of like a really good book. You'd have to like read the whole thing. Like, and I feel like that culture is like gone now, where like you just you'd have one song on the playlist, and you wouldn't listen to the whole album. You know what I mean? But this is a full album. You know what I mean? Like there's songs in AM where you could just you can listen to Why Journey Come When You're High as a standalone track or Do Wanna Know. That's why I kind of don't really like AM in that sense, because you can just hop into any song. It doesn't really like come full circle for me for some reason.
And it's got that like radio friendliness where it's just like, oh, here's Do I Wanna Know, do you know what I mean? And it's on, and you're just like, you're content with that. And it just kind of it suits that. Like, it's probably the best album in terms of like the singles, do you know what I mean? Because each single they put out, well, they're all obviously I'm not gonna say like they have bad singles, do you know what I mean? But like that album was like huge, do you know what I mean? And each single like was like it just got better and better, and then the album came out, do you know what I mean? And people love it. But I think again to like the difference, like that's the first time I think he's have an album that you want to listen to all the way through, not on it like songs on their own. Do you know what I mean? Like you could pick up like fucking Suck It and See and just like skip through stuff and just listen to a couple of tracks, do you know what I mean? But like this one is like, I'm gonna start, do you know what I mean? With fucking what's it, Star Treatment, and I'm gonna end with Bat Phone. No,
Ultra Cheese. Close. Bat Phone second last.
Bat Phone second last.
That's what. But I got like saying that now. But like AM, if I listen to one song, I know exactly what the next like at the end of that song. I know where it's gonna go. Like I know what song is next. Maybe that's because I've listened to the album so much, or they've put the song so perfectly in the track list that it like seamlessly goes into each track. Like it's probably both, but I think I've seen people online saying about like what do you want the next like AM7 to sound like, and everyone's saying like I want more guitars. And like it's like the same Tame Impala thing where it's like why is it going with more the synths and all that? I want more guitar bass. It's just a natural progression of like the way they're gonna do the music, really. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. If you ask me what I'd like the next album to sound like, I couldn't give you an
the
answer.
thing is, you wouldn't even be able to guess.
Well,
Like,
that's again like, Tranquility being such like a curveball and loving it so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not being a big fan of AM, so kind of like feeling like my fandom is wavering. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then this album comes out and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm an Arctic Monkeys fan again.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like proudly.
For AM7, people are saying that like, oh, I want more guitars. Or I want like a mix of, I want Humbug with Tranquility Base, or I want Favour's Nightmare with AM, or like everyone is already like insinuating what the next album's gonna be. Like, what do you think? Like, the new sound, do you think they're gonna go for? Like,
I honestly would say it's like impossible to know, or I'd
Yeah.
rather not know. Do you know? I'd really
yeah.
not want to put the thought into it because I was so surprised with Tranquility Base.
Yeah.
And that I think that surprise lended a lot to me liking it so much.
Yeah.
This is the first album of theirs
yeah.
that I had to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was just like immediately enjoy.
I feel like a lot with music, like the music that I like the most took me the longest to get into.
Yeah.
Especially like the first album that you gave me of theirs was Humbug. I think you gave me Rated R and Humbug because we were talking about.
Maybe Lullaby's Paralyzed as well.
No, it was
Yeah.
because you were telling me because Josh Homme produced Humbug.
Oh yeah.
But you were like, if you like, oh no, it was because you were like, if you like Humbug, you might like Lullaby's Paralyzed. It's like an even darker version of Humbug.
Yeah. Oh, way darker.
Yeah.
In my head, then I was probably thinking like these are pretty similar. And actually, like
yeah.
not at all. Like,
But like, I liked it. Like, as soon as I heard like My Propeller, like the drums at the start, I was like, yeah, I'm hooked on these. And like, but it did take me a lot longer to get into that album. Like, when I went back and listened to whatever people say I am or Favour's Nightmare, the songs were a lot more easier to digest because they're just hard hitting, they're straight to the point.
Yeah.
And I never listened to songs like The Jeweler's Hands or whatever from Humbug. I never listened to songs like that before. That were slow burners where you actually had to sit down and like digest them and take them in. Like, whereas if that's why like pop music's so popular because it's so easy to digest.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean they're better songs or whatever. But like that's a whole 600 minutes.
That's 600 minutes, man, for sure. Like, but it's I think that wanting to take your time to digest an album is I think that's what makes it stick with you. Do you know what I mean? So I remember when you sent me the like well, I think it was 1 Point Perspective or something.
The live one from a camera from
I think
a phone.
it was it must have been, and I just was just like I don't know about this like, but then like kind of felt obliged to like listen to it a bit more, and so I kind of listened to it a few times. But then over the course of that whole when the album came out, I was studying in Germany, and so so that's really tied.
Talk about it.
That's really tied to that like experience. Do you know what I mean? Like the memories of like, you know, discovering a new city and stuff are tied to me walking around. Well, that's it. Like I liked the album, but I hadn't listened to it like all the way through, like at least consciously. And I was cycling through the park on my last day of Erasmus before I was leaving, or one of my last days, and fucking Ultra Cheese came on, and I hadn't really given that much notice. And then, like, because it's such a nostalgic song, and I'm about to like move home again. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, right,
After like 3 months abroad, it like really clicked. Then, do you know what I mean? But like, if there was just a bunch of like poppy bangers, I'd have been like, oh yeah, that's cool. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like I listened to the whole thing and it was all grand. But I don't let it stew or like sit in it and let it kind of all, do you know what I mean? Figure itself out. Do you know what I mean? So it's like. I think when you just let an album, like when you give album space to like get into it and be like, I'm not enjoying it this first time or I'm not understanding it, but you keep coming back, you kind of derive more meaning or more a stronger sense of like what it's supposed to be about or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or your own interpretations or feelings towards it. You know?
Yeah, that's 100% right. Because like because I remember when I came into school when AM came out. And we're in 6th year, and I came like it was out like the weekend. It was Monday, and I came down and like you and Cottle over like our friend Cottle, because I'll leave his a link to his Instagram. I came down the stairs and like before class, you and Cottle were standing there like looking at me, and you're like, "Should we tell him? Should we tell him?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "We don't like AM." It's like two parents like going to summer school. Like I was like,
we're getting a divorce,
and I was like, I don't care. And I was like, fuck. And like that's the thing, because I liked AM so much straight away that it faded away quicker as well.
Do you think
know
so?
what I mean? Yeah.
What would you think of AM now compared to what you thought of it then?
Like,
because now it's been so many years that you could go and come back like over and over
yeah,
again.
and I have like.
So right now, what would you think of AM?
I think it's their weakest album.
I'd
Like,
say it's
honestly,
their weakest album.
and like a lot of people would really like fight you over that and say it's their best album. I do think it's their weakest album because it's weird. Because it's so good, it is their weakest album because it hits you so quickly and you like every song so quickly that I think it burns so fast that you get tired of it really quickly.
Yeah.
And with Tranquility Base, it took me a good few listens. Like, I'm still come to terms with it 2 years later. Like, I'm finding new things I like about it every day.
Yeah.
But I prefer those albums where 2 years later you're still figuring stuff out about it, rather than AM where straight away it's like, oh, I liked it straight away. And like, what else is there to discover about
exactly.
it?
Then it's just you could get into like the real minutiae of, do you know what I mean? Like,
oh, there's some backing vocal
there's
here.
but like that's
the same concept is there. Like,
yeah, but then where if you compare that to like like getting in the minutiae of Tranquility Base, like not only are you like hearing a backing vocal, like I was saying about I forget the song now. Fucking.
She Looks Like Fun.
She Looks Like Fun.
Oh no. I'll lift you up in her semitone.
Yeah,
that's
what's
4
that?
out of 5.
4 out of 5. Yeah, and I only copped that backing vocal raising up a semitone or whatever it does, but like it's not just that like little cool thing they did, but also like the fucking like the lyrical content as well. I'm still like wrapping my head around like the Swamp Monster with Hard On for Connectivity. I remember like it must have been like 2 years ago, and I remember listening to that. I think it was like Painting My Hallway or something. And I was listening to it, and that lyric clicked with me for the first time, and I was like proper like laugh, and I was like, that is a weird, brilliant lyric to have just randomly in there. Do you know what I mean? Well, not random because I think it's all very considered. Do you know what I mean? But like I've gone back. I didn't like AM initially, and I went back to it to appreciate it and realize like why it was so good and so well liked. But it wasn't clicking with me still. Do you know what I mean? I was like, look, I'm not hating on it. Do you know what I mean? But
it's like, I think as an entire album, I would put it at their bottom. But there are like some of their, like, Are You Mine is just like one of the best tracks of all time.
Definitely, yeah.
And like with Knee Socks with Josh Homme coming on, like that's a class tune as well. There's some deadly tunes on it, no doubt. But like, as a full album, I think it's probably their weakest.
Yeah,
like.
it's too clean or something.
I remember you saying that to me. I said that to you. I was like, it's so, like, the production is perfect. Like, there's no, like, I remember, John, the first album from A Certain Romance, you can hear My House background. Are we rolling?
Yeah.
And I was saying that, there's none of that in AM. And you were like, yeah, but I prefer when there's something is like that. I don't like it too clean, because it's like, but obviously that's for the album, it has to be clean, because it's like that sort of album.
Exactly, yeah. For your fifth album, you don't want to have Are We Rolling?
Yeah.
Well, you could, but
of course you could. Yeah.
They weren't going for that. They were going for this big stadium rock thing.
Yeah.
This big, like, you know what I mean?
I don't think they even anticipated that would be received that big. Like,
they must have had. Well, not that they
fisted America with that album.
yeah, but I don't think they were going for it. But they had to known like this is going to be our most like easily listened to, or like, you know, like I don't know, like most immediate album or something, digestible or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
But then like you listen to like some of the drum fills on Tranquility Base, and they're like fucking sloppy, and they're just kind of and you're just like, it's just beautiful though. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I was listening on my way here for the first time in a while. And I was like, it's such a comfortable album. Like I feel like they're all like sat down, nearly like, you know what I mean, like way back,
There's like
just doing their tracks like super.
Skin, like fireplace in the background.
Yeah. Like they're all on like, you know, beanbags or something, but they're all just like it just feels so smooth and like easy going. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That like just
lounge
vibe wise, exactly.
The lounge
like
lizards. Yeah.
Well, that's why I think it's my favorite. I think album is that. It's so wrapped up and like well done. Do you know what I mean? That they're going for this lounge singer thing, and they sound like they're lounging about when they're playing it. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like self-reflective on himself in AM, which is like 600 minutes if you want to get into it.
Do you know that the lyric from Star Trek and the Martini Police?
I
was listening to an interview of him, and do you know where that came from? He was at a bar one time, and there's some fella, he was at the bar and someone else was at the bar and he was drunk trying to order a martini.
Yeah.
And he was locked and he was like, yeah, another martini, please. And he was like, no, sorry, you're cut off. And he's like, oh, who are you? The martini police. And that's where the lyric came from, yeah.
That's a great lyric.
And so, and it goes back to even their first album, the way it's always him commenting or like looking out and talking about what he's seeing, but it's all from different perspectives. So like he said, like, why do you only call when you're high? Like he said that lyrically could have been on the first album easily.
Yeah.
But it's like all of it is like pointing and looking. This is happening. But it's all kind of from a different perspective. And like this is like a grown up perspective, or like instead of looking outwards, inwards, like looking inwards, outwards, or like it's just a different way of him way of looking at it. I don't know.
He's kind of doing both, I feel.
Yeah.
Do you know, we could like, I think he could nearly read too much into the album because again when I was listening to it on the way up and he said I just wanted to be one of the Strokes, and I have this whole notion where a lot of the album is talking about himself, or at least the character he played for AM, the persona. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of discussing that. And maybe where that character ends up, do you know what I mean? Kind of washed up or something,
right,
do you know?
Yeah.
But then he says something like, I just want to be one of the Strokes. And he said that's just a throwaway thing that stuck. And he's like, I just kept it. But then I'm like, but did he, like, but is he referring to being this big rock star guy, like the Strokes were in the height of their fame? Is that what he was doing on AM? Do you know what I mean? But also, they were all about the Strokes years and years ago as well. So it's like, I could be reading too much into it, and it could just be this throwaway thing.
That's what I took away from that lyric. Like,
you got me another one of them actually.
Yeah, of course. From that lyric, I took away from like, is like I just want to be one of the Strokes. They started the band because they liked the Strokes.
Yeah.
And like he just wanted to be in a band similar to the Strokes. And then that's gonna be great in the microphone. And then like,
yeah, it's just like,
right, could you get any fucking closer to it? Like,
don't be mean about it, Jesus.
Sorry, you're me guest, so apologise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just want to be one of the Strokes. Like, you just want to be in a band as cool as the Strokes. Now look at the mesh you make. Think, yeah, as you're saying.
All these years later.
Now he's like, because he might have written this song during the AM tour or whatever. Now he's like, I'm this mad sex bomb character that I'm greaser hair, like cool outfits, drugs.
Yeah. Like almost over the top kind of.
Yeah, I think look at the mesh
rock cliche kind of, yeah.
And I don't think he means like mesh, like as in like he is a mess, but I think like look at I don't know
how it ended up. I get you, like not a literal mess.
Not like look at a state me, I'm sick of my own handbag.
Maybe a little bit though, I think. Because again, he's kind of playing this washed up character.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it starts off wanting to be the Strokes, and then he's like this big leather jacket, slick back hair looking guy.
Yeah.
And then the album takes place in the future, I suppose. So So him at AM ends up like being a lounge singer on the moon. Do you know, he just kind of this trajectory where he ends up kind of washed up.
Yeah.
So maybe it is like a little more literal as a mess. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I think he's like, either that's like a throwaway lyric he had, or it's like these layers of meaning. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know which is which.
Yeah, because I think it was in an interview where he said, "I just want to be one of the Strokes." There was a throwaway lyric. He's gonna come back and change.
Yeah.
Back, he's like, "I'm not gonna change it." Hang on.
Professional.
Yeah, and then in an interview about AM, like where the album title came from, like AM late nights, early mornings, that sort of thing. And he's like, I never even thought about that. And like, I think he's fucking with, like, I think he definitely did.
Does,
like,
even My Propeller, which is definitely about getting your dick up.
But
he's always like, he said it, but come on.
But like,
it has
about
to be.
My Propeller, like, he's like,
I think he just says stuff like that, honestly.
But like, if you wouldn't want to be singing about not getting it up, though. You know what I mean? The way I've interpreted that song, whereas like, My Propeller, like, I can't get it started on my own. Like, you need some sort of drug or an influence to kickstart your creativity. Like, to start, like, I feel like you had writer's block or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I wouldn't be talking about like not getting it hard, would you?
Well, he ends up talking about a swamp monster's boner, like, so I don't know, man.
Hard
like,
on,
you know what I mean?
I love in Golden Trunks where he's like, the leader of the free world reminds you of a. What is it? Reminds you of a monster a wrestler wearing tight golden trunks.
Tight golden trunks, which is actually that's
it's
I
so
think
vivid
also,
in your head.
It's
isn't
great.
It? Like, obviously, you think of Trump when you like.
Oh,
hear
it's
that,
definitely.
Like,
but I think if you ask them, people like, nah, it's nothing to do with Trump. You're like, no, it is. Like, it definitely is.
Yeah, it's about Churchill.
You know, it's like Churchill. I'd love to see Churchill in fucking golden trunks, man. But that's also the thing with the what's it like? The whole he's looking outward and kind of pointing at things like he was on whatever people say on. And it's kind of like, you know, analysing nightlife and stuff like that and this like little tiny like microscope, do you know what I mean? But now he's looking at like bigger picture things, but again on a kind of a microscope. So then I think he's talking about American sports, and then in another song he's talking about Golden Trunks. But I think they're about the same thing, about like the state of America and everything. Yeah. And then he's talking about gentrification, he's talking about technology. So it is like him looking out. And then also is it science fiction, the song? No, science fiction. Then he's talking about like, I want to like write a message about peace or love, but it might end up being too smart for its own good.
Yeah.
And I think he's talking about the whole entire album then.
I think so, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think
he's
Santana was talking about that.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he's like, I think that's
I would have watched the Tranquility Fantano thing as well.
No, don't watch it, no.
Did you not like it?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I thought you loved it. I mustn't have watched it.
He gave like a light 4, if I remember.
Stop.
Something like that. Yeah.
Jeez, that just proves he's a dope.
Yeah. And like,
that's
the
crazy.
thing is, he also hated AM, which I think,
that's ridiculous.
If you like AM, fair enough, you won't like Tranquility Base. But if you don't like, if you hate AM,
you should really like it.
You might like Tranquility Base at least more than AM.
That's weird. I really thought he'd have liked that one.
Yeah, because it's weird. Like,
That's strange. But either way, like he does, he kind of goes back to that first album thing. And again, he hasn't done that since. Maybe you could say he did some of it on Favorite Worst Nightmare, but I couldn't think of an example off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I don't feel like he does that sort of like social commentary kind of thing that he was doing.
Yeah.
And with social, you mean like very social, like
I was
literal social events, not like
the line to the club.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
when he's also going back to like, oh, why aren't they doing the same music as they were years ago? Like, that was so good. It's like, because people grow the fuck up. He wrote that first album when they were like 17 or something. Like,
that blows me away, man.
I know, it's crazy. Like, but 17 to, well, like, technically they're like 34 or something.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's going to be huge change.
Huge change.
And like, I think if you're listening to this new Strokes album,
I didn't actually.
Deadly.
Really?
Like, it's really good. Like, but I think from like the first Strokes album, like a couple of their albums are really like samey.
Yeah,
but this new album is like class. Like, but it's like still the Strokes, but like with like a little spice on it. Really, like it's nothing changed compared to like Tranquility Base, but like it's so good. But I think you have to be doing that to stay relevant, like David Bowie style. Like.
Yeah. That's what's funny. Like if you're gonna compare the Strokes and Arctic Monkeys, do you know what I mean? Is that the Strokes have kind of written a bunch of albums, right? That never really change the formula too much, and if they do, it's like is it Machu Picchu and all that kind of, it's more synthy and stuff, but it's still like this very steady drum thing and like these very like edgy chord, like do you know what I mean? It's like very much the Strokes still, and so I feel like they could break away from the success of that first album. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Or they're too afraid to like
for their own good kind of.
Yeah, like they're too afraid to like change that like formula or dynamic.
That's why I love Arctic Monkeys so much. They don't care about that. They just care about the music. Like that's what I mean about going back to AM again. Like they could have easily done AM 2.0. I bet they had tons of material in the bank that they could have said, "Hey, let's just do this again. We'll get millions." Do another. They toured for like 26 months. The AM tour.
It's crazy.
And they're probably like, I'm not touring that long ever again. Let's just make a fucking piano album. No one's gonna want them. No one's
gonna want us here.
Like. Fuck that. I'll tour for a year and then. Fuck that.
They're just playing venues like with like mad old theaters and like the A is falling off the Arctic Monkeys. Do you know what I mean? Like the cinema kind of jokes. Fucking that might have been the sus, man. We might crack the code. Like
I think
they just got lazy and were like, oh, we'll just write this beautiful.
I'm getting too old for 26-month tours.
Yeah, that is insane. No, but I think like they've, but like lyrically they went back to sort of what they were doing in whatever people say, and that's what I'm not.
Yeah.
And they just changed the sonic. Do you know what I mean? Like when you think about it, that like, so it's, I don't know, like if you say you want them to sound like their old selves, and then what specifically? Do you just want a bunch of power chords again? Yeah. And riffs? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If that's what you want. I mean, you have it though as well. That's what.
Yeah, you can just go back and listen to that album. I know, but and I bet there's so many beats on that first album, like Under the Boardwalk and stuff, that I bet the people complaining about them not sounding like that. I haven't even listened to that. Like, yeah. But like, what I just don't understand. Like, why do you want them to go back to that? Like, do you not want? Do you get bored of that again? Like, they're gonna go back and do guitar like power chords again. You're gonna get bored of that, and then you're gonna wish that they'd done something different. But then they've done something different, and you wish they went back. Like, it's like have your cake and eat it at the same time.
Yeah.
Like.
But I think the thing of like doing an album once or doing the style of album once like says a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was listening to the first Falls album again for the first time in ages, and that's like I think that's one of my favorite albums of all time. Like I really love that one.
Called?
An-
Is that my
Antidotes.
number on it?
No, that's the one. No, that's like way before Cassius and all that, all the Matt Rocky kind of ones.
Fucking loved it. Yeah.
That, but like they literally, and then the next album, Total Life Forever, they just totally changed up their style. There's some little bits that you can kind of see, like the riffs are kind
What's
of.
his name again?
Giannis. Yeah, but you can still there's still that, but like them then and them now are like totally different bands.
Yeah.
But like listening back to that first album for ages, I was always like, wish they did it again. Wish I heard this again. And then when I went back to listen to it there recently, I was like, nope, I don't think this could get better. Like I love this album so much. If they try to do it again, I would just be disappointed.
They'd ruin it, I think.
That's it. So it's like, if they did it once and it was perfect, then that's it. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Like because they can go back and they can ruin it. Like you'd say, I want to go back. I want them to go back and do what they've done before, and then they go back and do it before, and they'll just make an arse of it. Because like, if they were forced to do it, they'd make an arse of it. Then why would they go back and do it off their own accord if they want to keep on moving forward? Like that's why the Strokes, their middle albums, I don't even know the names of them. Do you know what I mean? They're quite like, I know there's going to be people very annoyed about it.
There's one called RCA.
Angles
or something. The label.
There's one called Angles, but like
Angles.
I couldn't.
I thought that was called Machu Picchu. I think Machu Picchu was on that album.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the song.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like this amazing band that like just never really progress in the right way. They kept doing the same things over and over, and they didn't quite keep the same level of like notoriety that they had from the first album. Like, and
from what I saw at EP, they might all hate each other as well, which definitely doesn't help. Like, it's definitely a bit.
The new album, you should check the new album out.
I should actually.
It's
I'm really
class.
Man, I'm
some synths and shit.
I'm well versed in the first two Strokes albums, and the rest are kind of pretty hazy for me. I really need to sit down and like do the Strokes. Do you know what I mean? I know what I'm fucking talking about before I go on a podcast and start talking about the fucking Strokes.
Yeah, strap up if you're gonna do the whole job.
Oh, that would be a fucking epi too, huh?
Yeah,
Strokes discography.
Yeah, do you want to call it there? I think that was like an hour.
Do you think so? Yeah. Cool.
Right.
Oh fuck.
We're tested.
We're tested
for HIV mostly.
Yeah.
But hopefully
this is
the audio works for this and the video hasn't cut out or anything, because we're not doing this fucking again, to be honest. If this cuts out, that was gold, by the way.
Everything we said there
can't
be argued.
It cannot be argued.
Can't be disputed.
It's fact, not fiction.
It is fact.
Fact.
We were talking about having a PhD in the Art of the Monkeys.
Yeah, we've got a PhD in AM. PhD AM.
PhD AM. There we go.
Yeah.
Enough said.
So yeah, if you made it through the whole of this, subscribe first of all, and then add him on Instagram.
Go for it.
Anyway, cheers.
You'll be disappointed. All right, bye.
Love you. And scene.
Oh my god, I hate the Art of the Monkeys.
They're the worst.
Oh my god. Why did we waste our time doing that?
God.